So, I'm the Anne part of this session. In case you don't know, Noni's been helping handing out. Now, where are you? Where'd you go, Noni? There you are. She's down here. So Noni and I are involved in the Health Benefits of Good Work campaign. Just a quick show of hands, how many people have heard about the Health Benefits of Good Work before this session? Great. Okay, so some of you haven't heard about it. Fantastic. Well, you'll hear more about it today. Just let me find the mouse. Here we go. Is this the right thing? Okay. So what I'm going to do today is give you a quick overview of the history, structure, and our future plans. We've got some interesting developments that are underway that are designed to support employers, in particular, with embedding the health benefits of good work frameworks. We're also going to provide an overview of the concepts and the evidence that underpins these things. I'm going to talk about, as I said, some initiatives that you can possibly use in your workplace, hopefully answer your questions about the health benefits of good work, and, most importantly, encourage you to become a signatory to the Health Benefits of Good Work campaign. So the campaign actually started in 2010. Is anybody familiar with the work of Dame Carol Black? Yes? It's known, the FitNote work in the UK. She did some excellent work with raising awareness that we need to be focusing on what people can do, and not necessarily just in work, but in contribution to society. At the same time, there was work going on in the US with this, it's called the Stay at Work, Return to Work model that came out of the American College of Occupational Environmental Medicine. So there was a lot of thinking going on around that time, and the Australian and New Zealand the Australasian Fellowship of Occupational and Environmental Medicine, it's an unfortunate acronym, we call it AFOM, they got together, and I think that the Australians actually pulled together the best model. And what they developed in 2010 was something called the consensus statement. Now, you've each had a handout of that. It looks like this. Just have your hand on it for now. That's the consensus statement. So they developed the consensus statement, which was a very succinct and easy to understand overview of why focusing on good work was so important for health. So, great, they have the consensus statement. Unfortunately, it sat on the shelf and everybody went, that's great, fine. 2015, the chair of the now Health Benefits of Good Work Signatory Steering Group, a woman named Suzanne Jones, some of you may know her, got a hold of this and said, guys, this is sitting collecting dust, it's really good work. What I want to do is get that message out there and start revving organisations up to get them to embed this process. So in 2015, this campaign actually started pushing out. We're now in 2018, we now have over 300 signatories in Australia and New Zealand, and we're hoping that we have at least, I guess there's probably about 60 people here who might come through, maybe 60 more signatories. We'd like to have everybody involved. So the consensus statement, as I said, you each have a handout in your, that we passed around. Just want to read out the underlying premise of the Health Benefits of Good Work statement. The view is that good work is engaging, fair, respectful, and balances job demands, autonomy, and job security. Good work accepts the importance of culture and traditional beliefs. It is characterised by safe and healthy work practices, and it strikes a balance between the interest of individuals, employers, and society. I think that's a really key factor. We all get focused on, injured workers, employers, disgruntled, coming back to your conflict, Chelsea, older workers. We all focus on specific areas, but the societal impact to engaging people in work, and work doesn't have to be paid work, engaging them in some purposeful activity is critical for the overall health of society. Coming back to the statement, it requires effective change management, clear and realistic performance indicators, matches the work to the individual, and uses transparent productivity measures. So I commend you have a look at that more closely and see how useful it is for presenting to your executives, to your teams, to practitioners, to doctors, to physios. Everybody who reads it tends to look at it and go, yeah, I agree. In fact, we know from one of the signatories is the reject shop. You know the reject shop? You've seen that? When Keith Gervais, who's their National Health and Safety and Wellbeing Manager, wanted to get his organisation signed up to be a signatory, he apparently took it to his CEO, covered the header on this consensus statement, and said, "Have a read of that. Do you agree with that?" And he went, "Absolutely." He said, "Great, sign it here." So that's a tip for how to get it if you're thinking about becoming a signatory. Try that. But the consensus statement is the underpinning document to the Health Benefits of Good Work campaign. And based on, and the way that they came up with the consensus statement is they did a fair amount of research, and there's one of the links, there's lots of research that we're going to show you that you'll be able to access. But they did a lot of research, a lot of it came from the UK, and they identified specifically the components of good work, which I think most of you are probably aware of now that there's been so much focus on mentally healthy workplaces and mentally safe workplaces. The components of good work are fairly well known, but I think it bears repeating. Demands are manageable. There are opportunities to take control of your work. You've got support. You have appropriate relationships. You understand your role, and you're involved in a change process. It's always going to happen, but you're involved. The other aspect to good work, and you've heard it repeated all morning, is about design. And it's a tricky thing to think about design, but there's an excellent article that we just found a week ago, 10 days ago, on September 8th. Dr. Sarah Pazel released this LinkedIn summary of some fairly, I call it mud cake academic research, fairly chunky stuff. But she broke it down and said, if we start to look at design from the perspective of wholeness, well-being, wellness, health, diversity, sustainability, and prosperity, it makes it easier to work with job design. Now, I've given you that link, and I recommend that you have a look at it. I also have a couple handouts. Noni and I did a round table yesterday, and we have some handouts left over if anybody's really interested in finding out what exactly does it mean when you talk about designing for, let's say, designing for wellness. It's recognition that physical work acts as conditioning. It includes the need to move regularly, so you're designing work specifically for the demands. I won't go into a whole lot of detail, but that's available if you're interested. There's a number of little handouts just on the end of the table here, end of the podium here. So the actual campaign structure, as I said, it was initiated by the Royal Australian College Physician and the Faculty of Australasian Faculty of Occupational Environmental Medicine. It's now underpinned by the Australian signatory group and the New Zealand signatory group. So if you've got organisation, if your organisation covers both countries, that message is going through in both countries. And the central force is the signatories and business partners who support the campaign. Within the campaign, we have a structure that includes a workplace engagement committee, a communications committee. I'm the chair of the communications committee. We have a forum committee, and we also have an expert advisory panel as well as the executive team. Noni's going to explain a little bit more about what those things do and how they might be able to support you. And as I said earlier, we've had an amazing amount of growth in the signatories. We now have 300 signatories across the Australia and New Zealand. And if you're curious about who they are, we actually have some printed lists. You can have a look and see who's on there. And hopefully your name's on there next time we do this. You know I am the chair of communications, correct? No. So here's some ideas of tools you can develop to look at good work. So if you know that good work is underpinned by balance, engagement with stakeholders, engagement with community, and includes procedural fairness and procedural and relational fairness, you could do something like create templates or models of human capital reporting. You could develop a how-to guide on developing the social and emotional skills in your workforce. You could develop a how-to guide on enhancing your social license to operate. You know, in this day of banking inquiries and now aged care inquiries, one of the key issues that's missing seems to be trust. So how do you regain that trust? You start to focus on developing your social license to operate as a business, which helps to engage your employees. And finally, another example is an audit tool that you might use to look at efficiencies. There's lots of examples out there. We tried to frame some ideas for you, just briefly. And there's a number of strategies that you can use. You can educate, you can assess work roles, you can provide resources for support, you can engage people, and that's what the Health Benefits of Good Work campaign is striving to do, is to provide you with resources to do the educating, the assessing, the supporting, and the engaging. And here's an example of some of the research position papers that are available. I know it's hard to read that. The reason I put that up, there's a screenshot of the Health Benefits of Good Work website. If you are trying to build this type of business case, I recommend you go and read those things because it's very solid evidence that supports promotion of health benefits. In addition to the research, we also run a biannual forum. I think we've had 5, coming up to 6 forums. They're half-day events, and we collect all of the presentations and videos and paper handouts and make them available to you, the general public, you as an employer, so you can go through and say, oh, okay, I'm interested in a presentation on aged care. I'm interested in a presentation on conflict resolution. I'm interested to hear what Silverchain did to improve their health benefits of good work. A lot of good resources there. The other thing we did at one of the forums is we had a, have you ever seen I think this is kind of a millennial thing. I have a 22-year-old, she tells me this is what they like to do. They love sticky notes and sticking them on walls all around the room. So we did a sticky note exercise. We did a brainstorm. We identified in a room of 200 people, what types of things would you do to support good work? And we've collated it and made this little infographic book, which is usually really helpful for sparking ideas. Now I'm going to hand over to Noni about our future plans, and I'll come back in a bit.
G'day everybody. I am the chair of the Workplace Engagement and Advocacy Committee, shortened down to We Are for the group. We're still thinking of another acronym for the group. I think We Are is not going so well at the moment. But look, my brief in coming on board as the chair of the committee is to develop programs and initiatives and forums to share resources and education and partnering employers and signatories to learn more about the health benefits of good work. My brief is also to attract new signatories so that we can be supporting agencies and employers and insurers and unions to best share what is happening within the industry so that we're all promoting the health benefits of good work. So Anne briefly touched on the forums that we've been holding, and so those have been going fabulously, and certainly we will be running one in New Zealand at the end of this year and looking at Northern Territory, Tasmania, still to be confirmed for early next year as well. We ran yesterday, as Anne briefly mentioned as well, our inaugural roundtable event. We have some people in the room that also participated in that roundtable with us, and that was really to bring people from all different industry sectors to talk about what they're doing within their organisations and sharing that across the group to be able to work collaboratively together to help share those ideas around that. So the individuals in the room, it was really quite exciting. We had Wilson Security, Australia Post, Estia Health, Metro Trains, Vic Roads, Coles, TAL, Swiss Re, Catholic Church Insurance, Qantas, some independent physicians, and of course the rest of the committee as well. So really, I guess, diverse group that we had within that room. We also then presented on what some of the individuals are doing to promote good work in the workplace, and I think what resonates with your conversation around older workers was Andrew McGarity spoke from New South Wales Fire and Rescue around what they're deeming, I guess, as good work within their workplace, and when someone can no longer be a firefighter, maybe being a firefighter is no longer good work for them, and what is it that they can be doing differently to promote putting those individuals into other roles that they're empowered to do, and is volunteer work a form of good work? So there were some really great conversations that came from Andrew McGarity. We also had Jenna Tuvey from Serco Asia Pacific talk about the use of virtual reality in a call centre environment to not only, I guess, de-escalate situations in a call centre environment where somebody may be challenged with abusive or behaviourally challenging calls, or somebody who's reporting at the other end of that call that they're unwell. So you're using virtual reality, I guess meditation and energy-based virtual reality that these individuals will go and utilise after an event to then be able to come back to work. And so what they've been able to do with that is measure that when somebody engages in that virtual reality, that they have a quicker return back to the floor. And so they've been able to measure their KPIs around that to say that it's actually assisted their workers. And so promoting more good work and obviously increasing people being present and active within the workplace as well. So certainly some exciting things that we were sharing within that. We also looked at our good work tool, which I encourage everyone to keep an eye on over the next 12 months because I think it will be out there and well discussed. But we looked at what constitutes good work. And what's a really interesting point there is that we're not just looking at things from a work health and safety or an injury management perspective. What constitutes good work? So each of us filled out that good work tool and each of us gave ourselves a rating. And it was really interesting to see across the group how we felt about what constitutes good work. But that then enabled us to move into what is a business case for developing for the health benefits of good work. And we ran that practical session as well. So there's certainly a lot of things that came out of yesterday's roundtable. We have our forums that are occurring, our good work tool development, and obviously we're looking at encouraging members in the room to become signatories and join the bandwagon of wonderful things that are happening along the way as well. But I won't steal Anne's thunder. She has a little bit more to talk about, but thank you.
All right, so how do you become a signatory? It's pretty easy. On the form that you have, we handed out this very pretty blue form. On the back, on the bottom, is the link. It's a very simple thing to complete. There's no charge to become a signatory. The benefit is that you are kept up to speed about when we're having forums, when we're having roundtables, and what we're doing with the good work tool and the business case format. They'll go just a bit more on the good work tool. It's something we've just started testing. We're just in development phase, and our expectation is that we're going to go to Monash University doing some work with Dr. Alex Colley to develop a test that's has good construct validity, and hopefully it'll become a benchmarking tool so that if you're in the aged care sector, in the aged care sector, and you want to understand how others in that industry are rating themselves on what good work is, you can compare that. If you want to look at what's going on in Victoria, you can look at that. If you want to look at what's going on in a particular age demographic. So we're trying to develop a benchmarking tool that will be useful for you for your plans. But I recommend that you have a look at this document. Come down, and also if you're really interested, you want to have a copy of the business case template, or if you'd like to have a list of the signatories, or you want to know more about positive work design, there's some extra copies down here. And I think what we'll do now is throw to questions.